Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome to another edition of I'll Hang Up and Listen. Everybody, I am Duane, the host of Two Goalies, One Mic, coming at you live here late at 12:10 in the morning, 12:10 on Wednesday morning. Sorry for getting out here as late as I did. Ran into some hiccups, but I did say I was going to go live, so I wanted to make sure I go live. For those of you who stuck around, thank you. I appreciate it. Big win tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. Fourth in a row. Second on the road trip against the St. Louis Blues, a game where they were completely hot, jumped right out of the gates, quick 3-0 lead, quickly turned that into 4-0 to start the second period, and slowly but surely allowed St. Louis to kind of creep their way back in. And we all know how bad Buffalo has been this season when it comes to protecting leads. Well, that didn't happen this time. They were able to close it out with an empty net goal from Dylan Cousins, 5-3, and just a delight because I am not a fan of Jordan Binnington. So anytime we can really stick it to him is a good night in my opinion. As a Sabres fan, not as good as being the Leafs, but always a good time when you can really ruin that guy's night. So with that being said, Sabres win 5-3. Another all-star performance from Tage Thompson. Tage had three points on the night. And honestly, people have kind of said he's been a little bit on a slump as of late. I tend to disagree. Yeah, maybe sometimes the puck isn't always going to hit the back of the net for him. But that guy just does things almost every time he's out on the ice that is just insanely athletic and insanely elite. Whether it's using his body to protect pucks, using his bodies to retrieve pucks, just his massive frame and size, and then just couple that with his skill and speed and skating ability. There aren't many guys in the league that, if any at all, that have the combination of attributes that Tage Thompson has. And just his ability to, put that all together every single night and put on the performance he does every single night. It's gotten to the point here in Buffalo where everything he does, it's just not surprising anymore. It's not. When he makes one of these kind of jaw-dropping plays where he's stick handling through traffic, finding somebody on the somebody back door, or himself off a pass from Alex Tuck where toe drag patience, waits for the goalie, pulls the goalie out of position, and puts it at the back. It's just not even surprising anymore for us because we've been seeing it so often. It's just oh, holy shit, great, unbelievable play, unbelievable goal from Tage Thompson. But at the end of the day, it's just becoming such a common theme for us to see from him, and it's awesome. It's fun to see. Rasmus Dahlin getting his 14th goal this season. I believe I saw during the telecast that he'll be the second player in Sabres history to potentially end the season at a point or more per game pace. The first being Phil Hosley, who did it twice. Again, just two players on this team in both Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin, who night in, night out show up to play and never seem to let you down. And again, it's awesome to have between him, Skinner, Tuck, Cousins, you're going to have Olofsson and potentially again, Darlene. We have potentially 6 20-goal scorers on this team, and then potentially, if all these players keep up the pace that they're playing at, you could have 4 to 5 30-goal scorers. Remember when we used to struggle just to have one 30-goal score? We might have 4 or 5. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Insane. So, to go over the box score here real quick, Tage Thompson with a goal and 2 assists. Jeff Skinner with 2 points with a goal and assist. On a goal assist to Alex Tuck, who, again, I believe now is up to, let's take a look at his stat line for the season. He is still more than a point per game player, 51 points in 46 games. And as a Sabre, which this has been absolutely insane, 91 points. Actually, it might be more now after today. Let me see here if I can do some basic math in my head. Yep, that's 91 points in 97 games as a Buffalo Sabre. That's nuts. And I tweeted it out earlier too about this. And it's always fun to take a jab at him whenever we have the opportunity. But Jack Eichel only has, I say only, it's nothing, but only has 59 points in 69 games. He hasn't stayed healthy. He's had some injuries, which every player deals with it, but that was one of the fears about that, about Buffalo bringing him back or allowing him to get surgery is, will he stay healthy? Again, Alex Tuck has proven, even after the shoulder surgery that he had, that kept him out for, most of last season, or half of last season, actually. He's proven that he can stay healthy and has done so. And has produced at almost a point per game place since coming to the Buffalo Sabres, and at more than a point per game place this season alone. So, a couple clicks for him, because he's just been a breath of fresh air on and off the ice, because you can just tell that, he's a voice that's listened to in the locker room. He's a guy that, just like Darlene, the players tend to generate towards. And that's something that's just been missing from Buffalo for a very, very, very long time. And excited to have it back. So just to go over the rest of that box score real quick here. Again, Alex Tuck with a goal and assist. Cousins with a goal, the last goal on the empty net. Yoki Haru getting on the board with an assist. Okposo with an assist. Paterka with a great pass for one of his assists. I want to say that was maybe the Skinner goal. Or no, it was the Owen Power goal, right? The Owen Power goal. Great pass backdoor to find Owen Power sitting on the doorstep. And to see Owen Power to continuously, he does that kind of stuff all season too, by the way, where he sneaks to the front of the net. He's not afraid to be aggressive. We used to see it at Michigan all the time, the way he was coached there. So it's nothing new to see Owen Power drive to the net like that. It's not out of the norm for him. It's just finally starting to pay off. Matthias Samuelsson getting an assist. And, of course, as I mentioned, Owen Power with a goal. His second on the season, his second in as many games. But with that being said, again, Sabres got kind of sloppy after they went up 4-0. They started to play very conservative. Maybe even taking too many chances. Not like the fact they were trying to play on their heels and protect a 4-goal lead. They just got kind of sloppy. We're giving pucks away and just allowing the Blues to get back into it. Which, again, they tend to have done this season. They've given up a lot of especially 2-goal leads this year, and allowed teams to get back into it, either win, force overtime, or just make games a lot more interesting than they should have been. For the Blues tonight, Falk with 2 assists, Torrey Krug with 2 assists, Barbashev with a goal, Jordan Kyrou with a goal. I love Jordan Kyrou too, by the way. Very fun player to watch. Nick Leddy with an assist, Saad with an assist, Braden Shen with a goal, and then Jordan Bennington with 26 saves on 30 shots against. Also forgot to shout out UPL with 25 saves on 28 shots for an .893 save percentage tonight. 3 goals against. Yeah. Ugh, excuse me, guys. I apologize. But again, another outstanding performance from UPL. The other night, Craig Anderson gave, or not the other night. Sorry, yes, the night before, Craig Anderson gave them a fantastic performance. Your goaltenders are performing, very well, and it's gonna. I don't know how the goalie situation is gonna pan out a week or 2 weeks from now. Right now, it kind of seems that Eric Comrie is on the outside looking in of this 3 goalie rotation. He's really got to do his best to play himself back into the rotation whenever Don Granado gives him another opportunity, whenever that might be. So we got some comments here in the peanut gallery. Duane, where you at, dude? Sorry for the late show. I was a little bit late tonight. Some technical difficulties, but glad we can get on. I promised you guys I would come on tonight, and I am a man of my word. We are not completely back yet. Still need to learn to keep the foot on the gas. 100% agree, Matt. Again, you can't, and it's not like they were just not trying to be aggressive. They were just getting sloppy. Lots of giveaways, lots of, lost puck battles, especially in the neutral zone, for sure. Owen Power has 2 goals in the last 2 games. Go Sabres. You're absolutely right, bud. Got his first goal and then kept it going. First goal of the season and kept it going tonight. Just remember Jack Eichel screwed Jack Eichel. He did. So, and happy to see it. Who doesn't? So, next on the schedule, I believe their next game would be. I mean, technically today is Friday, so I want to say tomorrow against the. Let's take a look. I think it's like a 4-game road trip for the Sabres. And I want to say they have the Jets. That's correct. The Jets tomorrow tomorrow would be Thursday night against the Jets, 8:00 in Winnipeg. One would wonder if that is a game they gave Eric Comrie to get him back into the rotation and to see where his game is at right now. Or do you kind of keep going with the hot hands of your UPL and Comrie? Again, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I tend to just you play Comrie once one of these 2 goalies kind of falters and plays himself out of position. I am like, with us being so close to a wild card position right now, right on the heels of the Pittsburgh Penguins. For me, I'm the type that's, no, let's keep going with the hot hands here. Don't falter from that. Don't waver from that, and just keep allowing your 2 goaltenders in this rotation to keep getting you wins, to keep stacking you wins, because again, we are nipping at the heels of the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, and every point matters at this point. So I would just, if it were me, I would wait for one of these 2 guys to really play themselves out of the position, or, have a very questionable game before you put Eric Comrie back in net. But that's just my opinion. I could totally see them giving this game then tomorrow, or technically tomorrow, against the Winnipeg Jets, his former team. But we'll see. And then they play the Wild in Minnesota on Saturday, 9 p.m. game. It's a little Sabres after dark action. And then they come back home next week, February 1st, against the Carolina Hurricanes. And I do know we have a Toronto game really coming, actually not even coming up soon, man. Come on. We gotta wait till the friggin' 21st to get the Maple Leafs. And I don't even, we will have them at home though, at least. We will have the Maple Leafs at home. So that's a big deal. I hope that's a goat head night, because I will 1000% be there. You couldn't keep me out of the stands for that game, especially if it's a goat head night, and you give the fans the opportunity to reminisce how awesome that rivalry was back in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, when these teams were absolutely rolling against the Leafs, and just honestly dominating the Leafs. I know, Hasek had their number, and then Miller had their number too, and Miller even made a comment of how great it was, the feeling he would give the fans the morning after they beat the Leafs the night before. and it was so cool that he kind of included that in his speech. But again, but still, some tough games coming up. The Winnipeg Jets are second in the Central Division, kind of a surprise team, considering that they've been going through a lot of like internal issues between. I think it was Blake Wheeler had the C stripped off of him, or was it Mark Scheifele? I want to say it was Blake. I can't remember. They stripped the captain off of the captaincy off one of the two of them before the season started. There was a lot of question marks about whether this team still had it, what it took, internally, the core players they have to be a playoff contending team this year. Well, they're second in the Central Division right now, so they're really in a good spot. Even though they lost tonight 2-1 to the Winnipeg, or to the Nashville Predators. 2-1 in regulation. So the Jets fall to 31-17-1, while the Predators go to 23-18-6. Again, Winnipeg is full of like great players. I mentioned a couple of them: Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, and then obviously you have Connor Hellebuck in net, who's one of the best goaltenders in the world. A guy that anytime you go up against him, it's going to be a low scoring game. That, his numbers this year, he's a big reason why they're in the situation they're in. He's a big reason why they are second in the Central. And, many who peg them to be a team that would fall out of a playoff spot this year, he is the reason why they will probably be in a playoff spot this year out of the West. So, and again, you have guys on this team that, need no introduction. You don't need to, you don't need to, you always know that their names are they're the guys going to be circled on the roster in the locker room. It's like, these are the guys we got to keep an eye on. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Connor. However, I think they're not. No, they're not dealing with injuries. No, they still have Scheifele in the lineup, still have Blake Wheeler in the lineup. There's definitely a lot of guys you got to keep an eye on when they're out there, and be aware that when they're on the ice, because very high skilled hockey team and unbelievable in net. So that will be a tough game too, especially, again, assuming you get Connor Hellebuck between the pipes. And then later on in the week, on Saturday, when you play against the Wild, again, another team that provides a very admirable matchup for the Sabres. The Wild are a very tough, gritty, physical hockey team. And again, another team that lost, last night. They lost the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, no shame in that. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been a team that you just kind of slot into play in the finals almost every year out of the East, or at least compete to be in the finals at the very least every single season. And that's no different this year at 30-15-1. The Minnesota Wild currently sit at 25-17-4. And again, they're a very physical hockey team and a very high-end hockey team. Joel Eriksson, EK, Boldy, who just got a massive extension, Kaprizov, Kirill the Thrill. I don't have to tell you guys, he is an absolute delight to watch. Middleton's a great hockey player. Brodin. There's, again, a great lineup altogether, and, Marc-Andre Fleury in net. Again, just a big reason why they're having the season they're having. So, and who doesn't love some Marc-Andre Fleury? I really do hope we get him between the pipes. Out of the season that they've had so far, he's 14-10-3. But, average numbers, 295 goals against, 903 save percentage. Again, not the numbers you're normally used to seeing on a Marc-Andre Fleury, but, this isn't as strong of a team that he's played on in the past, but he's always played more than well enough for this team, for this Minnesota Wild team to win. And again, they're a tough team. They're a tough physical hockey team, and they are going to provide us with quite a tough matchup come Saturday night. Again, at the very tail end of this road trip. So Buffalo might be a little gassed from, being out on the road for a week and a half. So I would not be surprised if that would be the game that they drop, would be against the Wild, just because they might be gassed a little bit. However, I would predict a win here. I just don't. I look up and down their lineup, and I don't know how deep they are, if they're deep enough. Even though I do think under normal state they would match up well against Buffalo. I just think the Sabres are an absolute heater right now, and they're rolling. And at least three out of their four lines are performing very well. Tyson Yost, Middlestat, and Olofsson tonight. Even though Olofsson's goal streak ended, still had a good game. I remember their response. Granado threw them out right after they made it 4-2, and they maintained offensive zone pressure and puck possession in the offensive zone for the better part of 2 minutes. A good response to them cutting the lead in half. And, they've been performing extremely well 5-on-5, for well over a month now. One of the better lines in the league at 5-on-5 in terms of preventing goals from going in while they're out there. And, I guess if you want to get analytical, their expected goals for per 60 minutes, one of the better lines out there over the last month. So I feel like, again, you're always going to want to make improvements to this lineup. One thing about Victor Olofsson for me is, a month ago, I was all about trading him, get him off the team. When his value gets hot, trade him. Now I kind of look at it, it's like, man, he's performing at a very elite level right now. It's hard for me, if I'm Kevin Adams, to justify getting rid of that guy when you are making a playoff push. He still has a year left on his deal. It's not like you're in a situation where you have to trade him because he's going to be a rental. He still has a year left on the deal. So, I mean, maybe, you do keep him around. Yeah, I would not be against that. There are other ways to improve this team without having to trade players like Victor Olofsson. You have a ton of cap space you can use, weaponize a little bit. And I've been a big advocate for improving yourself down the middle and improving your blue line. I think you leave the net alone for now. I think you have a good thing going right now. You found an answer, at least for the time being. Leave that alone. Let that continue to develop and blossom. But those are the two positions I would like to see them improve, is down the middle at the center position, and on their blue line, find a true second pairing defenseman for Owen Power to play with. Find his Samuelson, so to speak. The way, how much Samuelson has helped Darlene blossom. I mean, a big part of that is Granado, and Samuelson being that calming presence on the blue line, that rock defensively that allows Darlene to do the things he does offensively. You need to find that for Owen Power. And I think when you do find that, you're going to see a different side of Owen Power offensively, and it's going to be fun to watch. I can tell you that right now. Like those goals you see with him on the doorstep, like you saw tonight, you are going to see a lot more of those, I think. So it's fun to have these conversations right now, because I would have never thought in a million years, if you would have told me that we've been having these conversations this time, this season, last year, I would have told you no way. There's no way we were this close to a playoff spot. Still a rebuilding team. I would say by the trade deadline, we would be a team that would be like 6 to 10 points back on the outside looking in. By the trade deadline, we could be a team that would be comfortably in a playoff spot, potentially a little less than a month away. So again, there's good decisions that got to be made by Kevin Adams. And we're going to see what type of a GM he really is, because I don't see him being a full-on buyer at the deadline, like full-on buyer, but I see him making moves to the extent where it's like, okay, we're going to take on maybe a bad contract against our cap. Maybe find someone that you put on the LTIR, which they've done in the past. Just literally have a contract. Somebody has a bad contract that they want to get off their books, so that we have the ability to put on our long-term injured reserve, a guy that'll never play for the Sabres, whoever that'll be. I don't know, because they do have $33 million in cap space or some crazy number like that. So there's opportunity there with your cap space, and this might be the last year you can do it because the cap is expected to go up, and teams aren't going to be fighting that flat cap anymore, that cap that hasn't gone up in a few years. So this might be the last opportunity to do it for teams like your Vegases, your Tampa Bay Lightnings, teams that are up against the cap that might be willing to give you a solid fourth line player that they need to get off their books, or maybe a defenseman that you could slot in ahead of Yoki Haru on your second line, that maybe isn't cracking their top four because they're so stacked, defensively. Who knows who it is? I think there are plenty of options. And one thing, and I've had this conversation with a few colleagues of mine when I coached last week, is that championship teams are really built on their bottom six. As important as your top six are, your bottom six are just as important, because you need that depth scoring in a Stanley Cup playoff run to get those 16 wins to win a Stanley Cup. And you look at the blueprint teams. You look at, I'll point to Tampa Bay, guys like Nick Paul, Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow, guys that filled roles for them in their bottom six. And for me it was Blake Coleman that one year. I think he's with Calgary now, but he was absolutely dynamite for them that in that one cup run when they won the Stanley Cup. Not obviously not last year, before that. He was huge for them. He was a big reason. And then Nick Paul, who's still there, and then again, Barclay Goodrow, who I believe still is with the Rangers. I know he signed a contract with the Rangers. Those role players in your bottom six, they're very, very, very important hockey players to your lineup. You look at guys like JT Compher in Colorado, who play on the third, fourth line there. Guys who fill a huge hole, play a role in the bottom six and produce and provide that depth scoring. So it's not always so top heavy. Those are honestly, those lines are just important to me as your top two, and are the lines that help you win championships. So, how often can you point to, a game-winning goal in the playoffs scored from one of your bottom six players? When you're grinding out minutes, especially in those long overtime periods in the playoffs, those games are an absolute grind. And the schedule in the playoffs is an absolute grind. And that's when teams tend to lean so heavy on rolling four lines, because you almost have to in a playoff run with how the schedule can be. That's why it's the most difficult trophy to win in all of sports. It really is. It really is. And that's why it's such a glorious looking trophy. So I'll obviously replay this again tomorrow, technically this morning, maybe around 8 a.m. Again, I don't want to, keep your guys' ear for too late here. But again, Sabres on a 4-game winning streak, and couldn't have so many good things, especially off such a depressing weekend. You see the Bills season end, especially the way it did. And the Sabres have been like a very good pick-me-up for the community. And, hopefully continue to be that. I was joking around. I like to donate my hair, specifically in memory of my mom, who lost her life to lung, brain, bone, and adrenal cancer. Back when I was 21 years old. I'm 35 now. But I was joking. It's like, if the Sabres make the playoffs, I'll cut my hair. But that's not really saying much, because it is pretty long, and I probably plan on cutting it anyway soon, regardless. But yeah, I'll probably cut my hair if they make the playoffs and donate it. So let's make the playoffs because I'm excited for that. I want to do that. So and I again, this is just a fun and exciting team to watch. And I love watching Tage. I love watching that top line every single line. I think they're the most dominant line in hockey right now. They're seemingly unstoppable, and it's nice to finally get the goaltending that we've been looking for years. So you don't feel rushed when it's time when Devin Levi finally signs at the end of the season, and you don't feel rushed like you have to bring the guy in and start him games and get a good look at him. You can allow him to flourish down in Rochester and develop at the pro level. And you have a guy like UPL who, at least for the time being, can be the guy along with Craig Anderson and or Eric Comrie. However that rotation seems to play out, we will see. And then, at the trade deadline here, a little like less than a month away, just exciting to think of the potential of being a buyer for once. And what that means and how Kevin Adams will play, because this is a situation he hasn't been in yet. He has not been a buyer at the deadline yet. So we'll see what happens, because you have used all of your first-round draft picks over the last 3 years. You've had 5 first-round draft picks in the last 2 years. Noah Ostlund, Matthew Savoy, Yuri Kulik, Isaac Rosine, and then obviously Owen Power at first overall. You've used them all. The pipeline is plenty replenished. So with that being said, do you start trading either A, some of your assets, or B, draft picks, high-end draft picks, to make your team better now? And are you in the position to buy a rental, or are you in the position to look for players that are either A, going to sign and trade, or B, or trade and then re-sign immediately, or B, are you looking for players with still term left on their contracts, which would cost you a little bit more? So I think, not just because of the season he's having, any team that would want Victor Olofsson would cost him a little bit more because he does have term left on his contract. And for, the amount of goals he's scoring, it's a team-friendly deal. So, and especially in a sport where Buffalo might be even inclined to retain salary in that deal, that's why it would cost you a pretty penny for Victor Olofsson. Because if you're getting a guy who at the deadline can very well be knocking on the door of 30 goals, and you're having us retain half his salary, that's going to cost you a pretty penny. Or, help us fill more holes that we currently have on our roster. We have some more comments here in the peanut gallery. UPL looks shaky. Upper glove side is his kryptonite. I don't know about that. He made a couple nice glove saves tonight, but again, I didn't notice it too much. But again, it's not. I don't think it's like a consistent thing in his game. Caleb Kurtz, fellow goaltender. UPL just wins. Very happy. Might not always be clean, but he wins. Yeah, I agree. Like, he lets stinkers in. He does. Like, we used to call, well, not me, I never called him this, but fans used to call Ryan Miller Mr. Softy. Trust me, UPL is no different. He's going to let stinkers in, 100%. He's going to let a meatball in here and there. But the biggest thing with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is he makes those timely saves when you need a save. He did it tonight on that one breakaway. Like, he made a couple of huge saves when Buffalo needed a save. And that's the difference. That's the big thing. It's not him going out there and pitching shutouts, or you guys are winning, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. It's when you need him to make a save, he's making it. And that's the difference right now. And that is not something we've seen in quite some time in Buffalo. Glad you remember me. I never messaged me back on Twitter. Go Sabres. Buddy, in terms of messaging back, and I'll say this to everybody on Twitter, it's so it's such a shit show for me sometimes in my DMs. There are so many DMs that I still haven't answered from weeks ago. So if I don't answer you via DM and it's something that you want to talk about, you want to reach out to me, I'm always willing to give my phone number out to anybody who wants to talk, either just you need to talk, person to person about your emotionally about the Sabres, whatever it is, always willing to give the phone number out, or you want to send me your phone number, I'll always shoot you a text. Sometimes Twitter DMs those get a little flooded, and I don't always get back, and I apologize for that. So, Caleb, I apologize if I haven't gotten back to you yet. Just messing around. I don't care. Yeah, but I care sometimes. So, but yeah, again, UPL comes up with the save when you need one. And again, that's something Buffalo hasn't had in quite some time, especially deep into the game in the third period. You need those saves coming from your goaltender, and you're getting them right now from both Craig Anderson and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I love that Twitter is toxic anyway. Absolutely. Send me your phone number. We'll shoot the shit. And, it's always better to get a hold of me away from social media, especially this week with the way Bill's Twitter has been. The toxicity of the last 24 hours. Fuck Eli Apple, by the way. Anybody who wants to defend his behavior right now on Twitter, I mean, I don't know how far your head is up your own ass, but, get it out of there, because if anybody thinks that tweet he sent about, he Cancun on 3, it's a saying in basketball. Yeah, I totally understand that. But Eli Apple, and you can search it yourself, he has never tweeted that saying before now. And it just so happens the number 3, which is DeMar Hamlin's number, coupled with him tweeting out that heart emoji, which he is also, in the history of him having Twitter, he has never tweeted that emoji before that tweet. So he has never tweeted both of those things. And he tweeted them together barely a week and a half removed from what happened to DeMar Hamlin, right in front of him. So if anybody has their head so far up their own ass, or doesn't have the ability to use enough critical thinking to know that he did that intentionally, throwing a shot or shade at DeMar Hamlin and the Bills, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, get your head out of the sand. Like, you have an asshole on your football team. He's an asshole. He's been an asshole anywhere he's played. He's an asshole in New York. He was an asshole in New Orleans. He was an asshole. I want to say he was in Carolina. He's been called a cancer in multiple locker rooms. Like, I don't know. And he gets burned out there for you guys too. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you if you actually want to give that guy of all guys the benefit of the doubt. He's a piece of shit. He is an absolute piece of shit. So, and I hope somebody slaps the shit out of him next year. Honest to God, I hope we're pumping them by 3 scores. And then somebody, I don't condone this kind of stuff, but, if he's even on the Bengals team, he might not even be on the team because he sucks. He's one of the worst starting corners in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not even on the team. So I hope somebody just slaps the shit out of him next year, 100%, because he's an asshole. But again, this is a hockey post-game show. We're talking about fun, exciting things. We're talking about the Buffalo Sabres on a 4-game heater, not about Eli Apple and his antics on Twitter, which is making it a more toxic place. Predictions again, in the comment section, your predictions for the rest of this road trip. Will they pull out wins against both, Winnipeg and the Wild? I think they take all this. I think they have a clean sweep. I really do. I think that they're just, the way they're playing, the way Granato has them moving their feet, and the energy that they seem to be playing with. If they can get away from the sloppiness for 20 minutes at a time, sometimes that allows these teams to get back into games, they can get away from that and just play full 60 minutes of hockey. I can definitely see them, full on having a sweep on this road trip, which would be huge, because we could be talking about this being a playoff team when they come back home on February 1st against the Carolina Hurricanes. So, and just imagine on February 21st, I believe I said that's what the date was, when the Leafs come to town, that game having like playoff seeding implications involved. Imagine that. imagine that game being very, having implications on how you treat the trade deadline. That bring on the Leafs. That's the game I'm looking forward to. Just under a month away. That's the game I have circled on my calendar because I want it so bad, and I want to beat the piss out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let's get there. But when we get there, let's be comfortably into a playoff position, and let's be a team that's going to make it very difficult for Kevin Adams to not be a buyer at the deadline, to make sure that this team comfortably goes to the playoffs and breaks an 11-year playoff drought. I'm excited for that opportunity. So with that being said, guys, remember this has been brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case over on Georgia Boulevard on Sabres game night and Sabres game night only, or for your Super Bowl parties. Get over to Outlet Liquor. It's the place to buy a case for all your adult beverages. And of course, give us a follow at 2 Goalies 1 Mike at Duane S39. We'll come out with our next episode soon. I believe we're on next episode 114 or 115. Trying to get Andrew Peters on the show again. He's a good friend, but you guys always very, very busy. And then we have other guests lined up too. And if not, it might be just me and Cully just shooting the shit talk about the Sabres. So make sure you tune in that. Follow us on YouTube if you like. Hit that subscribe button. Always appreciate it when you do. Trying to grow our YouTube channel. So if you can get on there and just hit subscribe, you'll get a notification every time we go live, and you can follow along. And like Caleb and like Mauricio and Robbie, you can leave a comment and I'll pull it up on the screen, and we can conversate on whatever might happen to be on your mind. So I'll hang up and listen. You guys have yourself a great night. I will again replay this in the morning, and 3 words: let's go Sabres.